Today we're going to be going over pneumatic AA troubleshooting. The first thing that you should check is that you have the proper air pressure and material pressure. Air pressure coming into the system should be between 60 and 120 psi, and we'll set the air regulator to 70 psi. The next step is to ensure that your system has an adequate material pressure. Typically, that will sit between 400 psi and 2000 psi of material inlet pressure, but that will vary based on the system conditions and the material that you're trying to dispense. To make sure your pump is enabled, make sure that the pump shutoff switch is turned to the on position. Additionally, make sure that the ram lever is in the down position. Even if you have enough material pressure, there could be an issue of not enough flow to the system. First, you might want to check your filter to make sure that there's no clogs from the material or debris that could destroy valves or seals. It is important to inspect the filter regularly and replace the internal element when needed. If you see excess material around the rod or where the rod meets the flange block, that buildup material is likely because seals aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. It's normal for seals to wear out over time, and luckily, they are easy to replace. We have repair kits available that you can buy that have all the seals that you'll need. If you're running a system with grease or oil, a leaky seal will not cause damage immediately, but it should be replaced at a convenient time within a few weeks. If your system is dispensing a material that cures, you'll want to take extra care that you'll replace those seals right away at any sign of leakage or failure. This will prevent damage to the rest of the system. If you notice on your system when the rod is fully extended and there's leaky air seals, you'll be able to hear air coming out the vent. This means that you'll need to replace the seals. A crucial part of troubleshooting a pneumatic AA is making sure that all of the valves are working correctly. There are 3 valves: the fill, dispense, and purge, and we can test each one individually to make sure that they're working. From top to bottom, you have the fill valve, dispense valve, and purge valve, and each of them are color-coded: purple, red, blue. To figure out what button controls which valve, you need to follow the color-coded line back to the valve stack. There are buttons on top of the valve stack corresponding to each of the inputs or outputs. If it goes into the bottom or back of the valve stack, like the purple one, that corresponds to the A on that card. If it comes into the front or the top of the valve stack, like red and blue, that corresponds to the B buttons on each individual card. To start troubleshooting the valves, make sure that your password is entered. You'll see that your password is correct if you see one of these 2 lights light up green. To start, go to the manual screen. I'm holding open the dispense valve, and if I toggle the fill valve, it will fill the chamber with material and will come out the dispense valve right away. And this is checking our fill valve. And we can see from the DV down there that is coming out. Red, which is dispense, is open, and we toggle fill on and off and make sure that it's going when it's going. To test the purge valve, we hold open the fill valve and we cycle the purge valve to make sure that it's working properly. And as you can see, it is coming out of the purge line into the purge can. Now we will test the dispense valve. So we will hold the fill valve on and pulse the dispense valve. And as you can see, the material is coming out while I'm pushing the dispense button. The way it does a compression test is when it refills the chamber, it automatically does the compression test before wanting to dispense again. It's right at the end of here. It says testing. Now it's ready. If it fails the compression test, it should fault out, and you'll be able to see that on the main screen. Simply hit reset, and it will redo a compression test and be ready for the next dispense. The retry count for the pneumatic AA is how many times it will do a compression test before giving up and faulting out. Go to config, and it'll be on the left side of your screen. You can change the amount of times it will attempt a compression test. If the compression test fails a certain amount of times, the system will fault out and you'll have to reset it. You'll be able to see the fault in the main menu. If you need to replace or reset your linear position sensor, you can loosen these 2 screws right here. To recalibrate it, there may be a Sharpie mark at the top, and you can slide that to where you can just barely see it and tighten the 2 screws. If your sensor has no markings on it, you can go into the config screen and go into your calibration screen after that. There you will see a fill button. When you hold that, the cylinder will retract all the way, and you want to position your linear position sensor to when the raw input is around 0 to 50. There looks like a good spot. After setting the linear position sensor to 0 or around 0 when holding the fill button, make sure that when you push the purge button, the raw input value is around the calibrated maximum. If you need to recalibrate the maximum to be similar with the raw input, hit the calibration maximum button and enter in the values you're getting in the raw input. It is recommended that you use a Sharpie to mark where the linear position sensor is, so that if it gets bumped, you know. If you suspect that your cylinder is not extending correctly, you can double check by going to the config screen and making sure that your pressures line up with the EPR that's on the aluminum plate. You can change these pressures by tapping on them and changing what you want them to be. And you can test that these pressures are being reached by going to the manual screen, hitting which one you're testing, and making sure that it's lining up with the pressures you inputted. And that's how you troubleshoot a Pneumatic AA. If you have further questions, you can contact us or visit our website.